How are you? Talk to me. Thank you. Be alive. Okay. This is a special event this afternoon. We have one of our professors who is going to be very happy to give you, I know, Jordan Bell will give you some delightful and good information, some substance, and some things to take home. And I hope that you have enjoyed our Black History Month so far. I didn't give you my name. My name is Carmen McGill. I'm an admissions counselor here and co-chair of the Black History Committee. Yvonne Flowers is the other co-chair, and Yvonne's on vacation in Florida. But I want to welcome you here, and I want to proudly present to you Professor Bell.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I just want to thank you so much. It's extremely frigid outside right now. I know there are a myriad of other places that you could have been, yet you've chosen to come spend your afternoon here with me, and I'm so appreciative of that. Just thank you so much, and I really appreciate your presence here today. With that said, my name is Jordan Bell. I'm an English instructor here at Dutchess Community College, and I'm also part of the Black History Month Committee, which is why I'm here presenting for everyone today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do today is I'm presenting a presentation called Hating Your Neighbor in the 21st Century. This presentation, I'm going to discuss how and why racism is manifesting still today in the 21st century in America. I'm going to attempt to do this by I'm going to attempt to analyze this phenomenon of racism by looking through the lens of policing in America. When we look through the lens of policing in America, I think we're going to notice an extremely negative pattern, and we're also going to notice that racism is still manifesting. Then once I'm done analyzing how policing is contributing to racism in America, I also want to talk about the why. And the unfortunate reality is, I think there's a concept called white privilege that not everybody is fully aware of, and many individuals feel very uncomfortable about, but I want to take the time to discuss today so persons can be more aware moving forward, so persons can be cognizant. So if they're committing aggressions against other individuals, they can do so purposely and not naively. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this presentation is a little more contemporary and not necessarily like all the other presentations that you may be accustomed to seeing. I'm not just going to lecture for you today. I have a lot of video clips where we're going to have reactions. Potentially at the end of this presentation, there may be 5 or 10 minutes left for you to tell me how you feel, and we can have reactions and comments. With that said, there's no guarantee. So what I would like you to do, ladies and gentlemen, is right here, you see hashtag BellHW, and on the board it says hashtag BellHW. Mind you, tweets are case sensitive. And with that said, if you have any comments, reactions, questions, any thoughts or feelings, please, ladies and gentlemen, I implore you, participate. You can speak live. You can put on your tweets, and hopefully these tweets will come across the screen. And if they don't, I hope one of these young ladies and gentlemen sitting up front will actually check on my iPad and see why my tweets aren't coming across my screen. But with that said, I want individuals to join in the conversation. I want us to all know what's happening. So you can be active. You can be involved in what's occurring today. All right, now, the first place I want to start today, ladies and gentlemen, is I actually want to just explain racism. I want to explain what racism is and what my definition of racism is, just so we have a better understanding moving forward. I'm someone, when I think of racism, I think of racial prejudice plus systematic and institutional power. The combination of those different factors, the racial prejudice plus the systematic and institutional power, equal racism. And that's what I think racism is. All right, moving forward.
Dago Wab, Guinea, garlic bread, pizza slinging, spaghetti bending, Victimone, Perry Como, Luciano Pavarotti, solo meal, non-singer motherfucker.
You gold teeth, gold chain wearing, fried chicken and biscuit eating, monkey ate baboon, big thigh, fast running, high jumping, spear chucking, 360-degree basketball dunking, titsoon, spade, mulling yarn. Take your fucking pizza, and go the fuck back to Africa.
You little slanty-eyed, me no speaky American, own every fruit and vegetable stand in New York, bullshit Reverend Sun Young Moon, Summer Olympic 88 Korean kickboxing sabaran bitch.
You Goya bean eating, 15 in a car, 30 in an apartment, pointy shoes, red wearing, menudo, meet a Puerto Rican cocksucker? Yeah, you!
It's cheap. I got good price for you. Near catchy. How I'm doing? Chocolate egg cream drinking, bagel and deluxe, banana for this Jew asshole.
Yo! Hold up! Time out! Time out! Y'all take a chill. You need to cool that shit out. And that's the double truth, Ruth.
Yeah, fuck you too. Fuck me, fuck you. Fuck you and this whole city and everyone in it. No. Fuck the panhandlers grubbing for money and smiling at me behind my back. Fuck the squeegee men dirty enough to clean windshield of my car. Get a fucking job. Fuck the Sikhs and the Pakistanis bombing down the avenues in decrepit cabs. Curry steaming out their pores, stinking up my day. Terrorists in fucking training. Slow the fuck down!
Think about getting one of those operations that elongate your penis?
Fuck the Chelsea boys with their waxed chests and pumped up biceps. Going down on each other in my parks and on my piers, jiggling their dicks on my Channel 35. Fuck the Korean grocers with their pyramids of overpriced fruit and their tulips and roses wrapped in plastic. 10 years in the country, still no speaky English. Fuck the Russians in Brighton Beach. Mobster thugs sitting in cafes, sipping tea in little glasses, sugar cubes between their teeth. Wheeling and dealing and scheming. Go back where you fucking came from. Fuck the black-hatted Hasidim strolling up and down 47th Street in their dirty gabardine with their dandruff, selling South African apartheid diamonds.
Come on, your wife deserves this.
Fuck the Wall Street brokers, self-styled masters of the universe, Michael Douglas, Gordon Gekko wannabe motherfuckers figuring out new ways to rob hardworking people blind. Send those Enron assholes to jail for fucking life. You think Bush and Cheney didn't know about that shit? Give me a fucking break. Tyco, Inclone, Philadelphia, WorldCom, fuck the Puerto Ricans. 22 a car, swelling up the welfare rolls, worst fucking parade in the city. And don't even get me started on the dumb in the cans, because they make the Puerto Ricans look good.
Who's this fucking guy? Get the fuck out!
Fuck the Bensonhurst Italians with their pomaded hair, their nylon warm-up suits, their St. Anthony medallions, swinging their Jason Giambi, Louisville Slugger baseball bats trying to audition for the Sopranos. Fuck the Upper East Side wives with their Hermes scarves and their $50 Balducci artichoke. Overfed faces getting pulled and lifted and stretched all taut and shiny. You're not fooling anybody, sweetheart. Taxi! Fuck the Uptown Brothers. They never pass the ball, they don't want to play defense, they take 5 steps on every layup to the hoop, and then they want to turn around and blame everything on the white man. Slavery ended 137 years ago. Move the fuck on. Fuck the corrupt cops with their anus-violating plungers and their 41 shots, standing behind a blue wall of silence. You betray our trust. Fuck the priests who put their hands down some innocent child's pants. Fuck the church that protects them, delivering us into evil. And while you're at it, fuck JC. He got off easy. A day on the cross, a weekend in hell, and all the hallelujahs of the legioned angels for eternity. Try 7 years in fucking Otisville, Jay. Fuck Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, and backward-ass, cave-dwelling fundamentalist assholes everywhere. On the names of innocent thousands murdered, I pray you spend the rest of eternity with your 72 whores roasting in a jet fuel fire in hell. You towel-headed camel jockeys can kiss my Royal Irish ass.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm fully aware that these videos that I just presented to you today were rather aggressive. They're rather off-putting to a lot of you. They make a lot of us feel uncomfortable. The unfortunate reality is, ladies and gentlemen, I think the overwhelming majority of us at one point in time or another, if not on many occasions, have been privy to the type of language that we've heard here today. We've been in rooms, we've been with friends, we've been behind closed doors, we've been amongst groups where persons look like us, where we've had these conversations, whether they've been about black persons, Hispanic persons, or about the LGBTQ community. Whatever the target of the object of the hate is, these thoughts and sentiments have been shared. Now, a lot of persons don't think that this is poignant. I think this is extremely central to the point that I'm making here today. Because if I didn't feel these videos were relevant, all of us wouldn't have recognized the faces that I had on at the beginning of this presentation of hating your neighbor in the 21st century. I had pictures of Tamar Rice, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, and Eric Gardner. The unfortunate reality is every single person in this room probably recognizes all of those names. We shouldn't. The reason we recognize those names is, unfortunately, we are hating our neighbors in the 21st century. We've all been privy to these type of sentiments, and by acknowledging that we've been privy to them, maybe we can make conscious decisions in the future to not take part in them. Now, what I want to do next is I want to start to analyze this phenomenon by looking at policing in America. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, there's a report right here from Stanford Report, August 26, 2014. At the bottom, there's another report by Rick Pedroncelli, who works with the Associated Press. You can read what's on the board for yourself. Long story short, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to explain what's being said in layman's terms right now. When the individuals referenced in this report by Sheraton and Mr. Pedroncelli, the white person's reference, when they found out that black individuals made up the overwhelming majority of prison populations, when these persons who were referenced in these articles found out this information, as opposed to saying we should have less severe laws in place and maybe we should reevaluate our prison system, no. The exact opposite happened. What occurred is individuals felt that we should enforce harsher laws. We should enforce laws like 3 strikes and you're out. And as a result of these harsher laws, I think that's part of the reason we have the divide and part of the reason racism is manifesting itself and rearing its ugly head in the way that it does. Now, at the bottom of the screen there, you should read this. It says, although African Americans constitute only 12% of the American population, they represent 40% of the prison population. So for some reason, in normal day-to-day society, black persons make up roughly about 10% of the population. But when it comes to prison populations, we quadruple. Now, I wonder why that is. Let's look a little further and see if we can find some evidence as to why that is. Now, what I did is I went on KFF.org as well as the NAACP.org, and I actually created my own little charts. Now, I don't know how well you can see them, but hopefully you can see everything that I have on the board. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at the bottom of the right-hand screen, you notice we have population demographics by race. When we do population demographic by race, once again, 62% of the nation are Caucasian, represented by the white persons on the screen. 17% of the nation is Hispanic, represented by the green individuals. 12% of the nation is black, represented by the black individuals, and 9% of the population is other, represented in purple. However, when we look at our prison rates, notice where black persons were once only 12% of the population on the right-hand side, magically, and not necessarily magically, by no means am I asserting that this is magical. Their population increases to 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, where on the right-hand side, they only take up 1 row. So thus, we're making up 40% of prison populations, according to the NAACP.org, which is what I referenced at the bottom. Now, whites make up 30% of the prison population, and they make up 62% of the population outside in day-to-day life. Hispanics make up roughly 20% of the prison population, which is a significant increase in their population and what they make up in normal life, because if you notice, they only make up 17% in our day-to-day lives. Then other actually decreases down to 2% when we get into prison populations. All right, let's move forward. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in case you can't see, this is an article from the USA Today online. Now, what I want to show you is this talks about the racial gap in U.S. arrest rates, and it talks about there's a staggering disparity. Now, we don't have time to read this, so I don't really want to read this. So now I want to sit there and I want to look at the policing that goes on in New York State. And more specifically, I actually want to discuss what's going on in Poughkeepsie, since we happen to be in Poughkeepsie right now. Ladies and gentlemen, what you can see here is that in the City of Poughkeepsie Police Department, for every 1,000 black persons that live in this area, 121 of them are being arrested. However, for non-black persons, for every 1,000 non-black persons, only 44 of them are being arrested. This is really disappointing to me. This is starting to make me wonder, are black persons inherently inferior to their counterparts? Because that's what evidence such as this would suggest. With that said, I hope you all realize that I don't believe that. Let's move forward. Perfect. Hopefully in a moment, we should have appearing on our screen an ACLU report. They did it on marijuana arrest back in 2013. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when I showed you the previous information, I don't feel I've provided enough evidence for you to actually believe that racism is manifesting in America. Ladies and gentlemen, with the information that I've presented thus far, what could be the argument is that black persons are just committing crimes at higher rates. And if we're committing crimes at higher rates, then we deserve to be incarcerated at higher rates. With that said, I don't think this is the case. So what I want to do is I want to go a little further into this, looking through this lens of policing in America. And now I want to look through the lens of marijuana policing in America. So, as you can see, this is the war on marijuana in black and white. It's done by the ACLU. For anyone who doesn't know who or what the ACLU is the American Civil Liberties Union. Basically, they're the persons that individuals can go to when they feel like their rights are being violated. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm doing is I'm highlighting page 68 of their report. Now, on page 68 of their report, at the top of this page, it said, blacks and whites admit to using marijuana at similar rates. So, between the years of 2001 and 2010, these are the rates of persons who admit to using marijuana within the last year. When we look at white persons in 2001, they're roughly around 10%, slightly about a percentage point above their black counterparts. In all the subsequent years, their black counterparts are slightly higher, but not more than by 1, 2, or maybe 3 percentage points. So if roughly 10% of the white population admits to using marijuana, then maybe 12 or 13% of the black population admits to using marijuana. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to show you right here, this is the demographic of ages 18 to 25, the most arrested demographic for marijuana in the United States. When we look at this age group and demographic, we notice that whites admit to using marijuana at higher rates than their black counterparts. Then why are black persons being arrested at such alarming rates is the question that I beg. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you arrest rates when it comes to marijuana arrest rates. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is actually information from the ACLU report that I just had, but this is on a different website called uncovery.org. Now, what we can look at on uncovery.org, it's an interactive website, so we can plug in different information. So as we already see, for every 0.01 hours somebody in the United States is arrested for having marijuana, a black person is 3.73 times more likely to get arrested than his white counterpart. Now, I don't really necessarily want to look at the United States. Like I said, we're in New York, so I want to look at where I live. And I want to just flip the chart around so we can see how this works. So now, someone in New York is for every 0.08 hours, someone in New York is arrested for having marijuana. In addition to that, a white person is 4.5 times less likely to be arrested than a black person. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what else to tell you right now except for the fact that I think black persons are being targeted. I just showed you statistics that showed you that white and black persons admit to using marijuana at extremely similar rates. But for some reason, we're not arrested at similar rates. Actually, in New York, for every one white person who's arrested for marijuana, we will have 4.5 black persons arrested for marijuana. I'm extremely disappointed about that. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, my hypothesis is that if we were to give a polygraph test to the police officers who are arresting blacks at such alarming rates, and we were to ask them the question, do you feel you're a racist? I have a feeling that at least about 80% of them would answer the question no, and it would come back that they were telling the truth. I think that many persons who are committing these racist actions do not believe that they are complicit, that they are contributing to this racist agenda that's taking place in our nation. And honestly, I find that to be extremely problematic. I feel like that relates to a concept and an idea called white privilege. And I feel like white privilege is one of the reasons that racism is still manifesting itself in America. I hope thus far, so far in my presentation, I've proved to you how it's manifesting. I could have showed you other statistics, but I chose to use policing in America, specifically marijuana policing. But now I want to talk to you more about why it's happening. Now that hopefully you believe me that it's happening, let's discuss why it's happening. And now, do I think white privilege is the sole reason? By no means, way, shape, or form do I believe that. That is not what I'm asserting here today. I hope none of you believe that anything I say here is the sole reason for one idea or another idea taking place. Now, let's move forward in this presentation. I thought about providing everyone with a definition of white privilege, but inside one of these clips, I feel like is a moment where I really like the definition that someone else provides. And I'm going to highlight that moment so we can all be aware of it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the clip by Jon Stewart and Bill O'Reilly.
Here's all I want from you today. This is it. This is all we got to do in this conversation.
Okay.
Just one. I have one simple goal.
Yeah.
I want you to admit that there is such a thing as white privilege. All I want.
I knew you were going to.
That's it. The Asian experience in America, the Asian immigrant experience, is very different from the black experience.
Yes.
So it's really, they're not equivalent. And either way, white people, males, set the system. So that's what privilege is that white people set the system that, yes, maybe Asian immigrants, once immigration policy was liberalized, have done better over these past 30 or 40 years. But there has been a systematized subjugation of the black community. Would you not agree with that?
Sure. I mean,
well, then that's
everybody
it. That's
knows.
white privilege. You just did it. That's it. We're done. You just did it. That's all this is.
That was then. This is now. All right? America is now a place where if you work hard, get educated, and an honest person, you can succeed. That's what should be put out there.
You are carrying,
not all this other stuff.
You are carrying more of a burden as a black person in this country than a white person in this country. From
collectively, yes, but not
individually.
You listen.
You culturally. Do you think your upbringing gave you values, ethics?
Yes, it did.
You didn't grow up rich, right?
No, we didn't.
But
have
you worked
much
hard.
Money at all.
Right.
I did.
You worked hard.
Right.
You lived where?
Levittown,
New York. So it gave you a nice, stable, a cheap home. There was no down payments. It was this incredible opportunity. No, those houses were
just
subsidized.
Yeah.
It wasn't lavish.
No, they weren't subsidized.
But
they
it
were
was stable.
sold to GIs, and the GIs got a mortgage they could afford. Look,
but let me just ask you a question.
You're making a huge mistake.
No. Let me just ask you a question.
Yes.
Did that upbringing leave a mark on you even today?
Of course. Every upbringing leaves a mark on people.
Could black people live in Levittown?
Not at that time. They could not.
So that, my friend, is what we call in the business white privilege.
Okay. That was
you know what I'll call it? I'll call it this, and it's a word I think you'll understand. A factor. It's a factor.
It's a factor. I'll give you the factor business.
You did. You're giving me the factor. Common cause. That's it. That's all.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, another example that I can think of white privilege, so we can think about it more concretely, is one major example of white privilege is white persons are the one who've got to shape history in America. We see history through the lens of white persons in America. White persons have got to write most of our texts that we read in canonized literature. In many other classrooms, when we talk about wars, when we talk about American wars specifically, they're through a white lens. They're not necessarily through what everyone likes to think of as an American lens, because when we say American lens, it should be more inclusive, but it's not necessarily an American lens. Now, another thing that I want to add to this white privilege is I just want to talk about the definitions of the word black and white. I'm going to talk about the adjectives as both. And now, with that said, I don't have time to cover the full definitions, so I'm only going to cover the references that are poignant to my conversation today. Now, black, thoroughly sinister or evil. An example of this is a black deed. Another definition is indicative of condemnation or discredit. For example, a person can get a black mark for being late. Another example is connected with or invoking the supernatural, and especially the devil, often known as black magic. Another example is very sad, gloomy, or calamitous, known as black despair. And the last one I have for you is characterized by hostility or angry discontent, also known as black resentment filled his heart. Now, let's go conversely to what the definition of white is. Same adjective, and I'm going to use the arguments that I find are relevant to this conversation. So, white, marked, and I got these from Merriam-Webster Dictionary, I apologize. Marked by upright fairness. That's mighty white of you. Another example, free from moral impurity or innocent, such as when women wear white to weddings and white when they get married. Or not intended to cause harm. Oh, that's only a little white lie I'm telling you right now. Or favorable or fortunate. One of the white days of his life. Talking about one of the best days of his life. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have a feeling, and I think most of you would agree with me, that a black person did not write this definition. A black person would not describe himself in such negative and derogatory terms. And then we see how such positive terms that are used for the white person. I think we all know a white person wrote this. This is just a small example of white privilege. These are privileges that white persons have in our society because history and text are written through their lens and not through the black lens. Now, moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a clip, this is a cartoon strip on what white privilege is. It's by Jamie Capp. When I found this online, I really, really liked it because I felt like she did a great job of explaining this in layman's terms. And to be honest, I'm so impressed by this piece. Jamie was 19 when she made this. She's in college. She's probably 20 or 21 right now. So I was really impressed by this. So, hi there, everyone. I'm white, like really white. Like so white that I can't even take pictures of myself with the flash on. All right, now, I'm a good person. I don't contribute to racist agendas. I didn't ask to be born white. And I try my best not to be racist myself. However, I still benefit from institutionalized racism and discrimination. These benefits I receive are commonly referred to as white privilege. When it comes to school, a white person is 78% more likely to be admitted to a university because of race. A person of color with the same exact grades has only a 22% chance. And once admitted, I'm more likely to receive my degree. 71% of white persons have a bachelor's degree, compared to only 29% of persons of color. She talks about the likelihood of individuals going to prison next. But this I found much more interesting. What she says is, a white man with a criminal record is 5% more likely to get a job over a man of color with a clean record. What? What you're telling me is, a white person with a criminal record has a better chance of getting a job than a black person with a clean record? That sounds like institutionalized racism to me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at the bottom it says, you're racist. But people would like to argue white privilege doesn't exist. It does exist. Now, this is the definition that I like to highlight. White privilege is the privilege to be ignorant of the world around you. Ladies and gentlemen, there are certain concerns that members of the black community or members of the Hispanic community have to go through. And yet, white persons don't have to go through these same concerns. White persons don't have to question, did this happen because I was white, or did this happen because of my skin color? Is this the way I was treated? And this is something that many black persons or persons of color in general have to experience in America. So being allowed to be ignorant to the world around you is what I feel is the best description of what white privilege is. Because since it doesn't affect you, you don't have to worry about it. I find this problematic.
Time now for What Did We Learn? A look back at some of the things that we discovered in the past month. We learned that Giancarlo Stanton got banked, but that he's banking on owner Jeffrey Loria to spend more money to build a complete team in Miami. Good luck with that. We learned that Johnny Manziel isn't a hugger, and neither is his entourage. By the way, through week 13 of the season, Manziel had one more touchdown than his entire entourage. We learned that this Saint fan has more interceptions than his entire team. Marshawn Lynch may not like Pete Carroll, but he really hates talking to the media. Heck, while we're finding people, when is Bill Belichick going to get slapped for that weekly mumble fest that us media types think is so insightful? Speaking of the media, we learned that we portray similar events very differently. Remember those NASCAR fights we saw in the pits and near the garage? Where was the outrage? Don't get me wrong, I love it. Heck, I'm a big wrestling fan too. But ask yourself, How would we have covered those fights if they had happened in the NBA or the NFL?
Ladies and gentlemen, in layman's terms, what Robert Flores just said is, if these were black persons, such as are in the NBA and NFL, which are predominantly in the NBA and NFL, how would we have covered this fight? No, what he's implying is that more than likely, the persons who are running ESPN, the hires up, the producers of ESPN, the presidents, are white persons. And it doesn't benefit them to have a narrative where they're showing white persons as being irresponsible. There's no positive thing that can come from it. Therefore, they're not gonna let persons hear that narrative moving forward. These are the last two video clips I have to show you. They're both from Chris Rock.
I live in a place called Alpine, New Jersey. I live in Alpine, New Jersey, right? My house costs millions of dollars. Don't hate the player, hate the game. In my neighborhood, there are 4 black people. Hundreds of houses, 4 black people. Who are these black people? Well, it's me, Mary J. Blige, Jay-Z, and Eddie Murphy. Only black people in the whole neighborhood. So let's break it down. Let's break it down. Me, I'm a decent comedian. I'm all right. Mary J. Blige, one of the greatest R&B singers to ever walk the earth. Jay-Z, one of the greatest rappers to ever live. Eddie Murphy, one of the funniest actors to ever do it. Do you know what the white man that lives next door to me does for a living? He's a fucking dentist. He ain't the best dentist in the world. He ain't going to the Dental Hall of Fame. He don't get plaques for getting rid of plaques. He's just a yank your tooth out dentist. See, the black man gotta fly to get something that the white man can walk to. That's right, baby. Shit, I had to make miracles happen to get that house. I had to host the Oscars to get that house. And to this day, I don't even believe it's my house. That's why I keep a bag packed right by the door. Just in case the white people that really own the place show up one day. Time to go, Blackie. Damn, I knew this day would come. Good thing I'm packed. Do you know what a black dentist would have to do to move into my neighborhood? He'd have to invent teeth. The fellas in their head. The fuck? Shit, I know Puerto Ricans when I see them. You can't slip a Puerto Rican by me. That's not Pocahontas, that's Jennifer Lopez. It's like racism everywhere. Who's the maddest people? White people. Not y'all, y'all all right. Pay money to see me, we cool. The feud is over. Now, you watch the TV, you watch like 60 Minutes and shit, you see white people pissed off, man. Mad, the white man thinks he's losing the country. You watch the news like, we're losing everything. We're fucking losing. Affirmative action and illegal aliens, and we're fucking losing the country. Losing? Shut the fuck up. White people ain't losing shit. If y'all losing, who's winning? It ain't us. It ain't us having driven around this motherfucker. It ain't us shit. Shit, there ain't a white man in this room that would change places with me. None of it. None of it would change places with me, and I'm rich. That is to be white. There's a white one-leg busboy in here right now that won't change places with my black ass. He's going, nah, man, I don't want to switch. I want to ride this white thing out, see where it takes me. That's right. So when you white, the sky's the limit. When you black, the limit's the sky. That's right, man. Now when it comes to race,
Now, ladies and gentlemen, clearly Chris Rock is speaking in hyperbole. He's a comedian. He's supposed to speak in hyperbole. With that said, though, there was some truth behind the humor, behind his exaggeration. When he spoke about his neighborhood, he lived in a very affluent neighborhood. The other black persons who lived in his neighborhood were extremely successful. And by no means am I belittling or demeaning what a dentist is. But with that said, he's sure not going to the Dental Hall of Fame. You see what black persons have to do to achieve some of the same things that white persons don't necessarily have to go through as much to achieve. Now, what I want to do is, I know I'm coming towards the end. I have about 10 minutes left. Do me a favor. Try to hold on and not leave me short. Now, I want to give you 10 examples of what white privilege is, and then we're going to move forward. Now, one example is, white persons, when they leave their house, they can arrange to be in the company of persons that look like them the overwhelming majority of the time. Most times when a white person leaves the house, wherever he or she is going, more than likely other persons there will be white as well. With that said, most times when black persons leave the house and they go into public environments, no, most persons there are not persons of color. The next thing I want to make mention of is that when we're told about our national history, we're told about that through the white lens. We're not told about the black figures as often as we're told about the white figures. White people get to see individuals who look like them. When we look at all of our presidents of American history, all except for one look like you. That's something that's an advantage. That's an advantage that you know you can be successful and you don't have to question it. You feel it's a feeling of belonging. That feeling of belonging increases success. Same thing in college. When students feel like they belong to the institution, their success rates increase. It's kind of what's happening in our nation. We just don't speak about it that often. 3, whether with checks, credit cards, or cash, white persons, when they spend money, it will not give them the appearance of financial non-reliability. Unfortunately, I think many of us are aware of that in 2012 and 2013, Bank of America was asking persons at the end of their home mortgage applications what race they were. And then non-white persons were charged 3 to 4 percentage points higher for their home mortgages. Ladies and gentlemen, the unfortunate reality is the narrative in this nation is that many black persons are bad with credit. Many black persons make poor financial decisions because we like bling and we like these type of things. Please don't pigeonhole all of us into one group. White persons can easily buy posters, postcards, dolls, magazines. We're there on the cover. We're there pictured. Think about these images of beauty ideals in America. When we look at the last Sports Illustrated, there weren't many models of color that they chose. They even chose a plus-size model was the term that they used. But there weren't as many models of color. And what happens is white persons get to shape the beauty ideal in America. Think about how many black persons want to straighten their hair and wear different things. That isn't a black ideal. That is black persons assimilating into a white society. Now, white persons can do well in a challenging situation without being a credit to their race, like me right now. Oh, I'm a credit to all black people. Look what black people can do. Jordans represent all black people. This isn't said when my white counterparts do a presentation. That's something that white persons get to take advantage of that they don't have to deal with. Now, if a traffic cop or the IRS audits a white person, that white person doesn't think, I wonder if this happened because of my skin color. Whereas many black persons, when they're pulled over or ordered by the IRS, they wonder, Now, if your day is going badly, if a white person's day is going badly, he doesn't ask of each negative episode whether or not it has a racial overtone. Did my race play a factor in what happened today? Were to be brutally honest, I know I myself often ask that question when bad things happen to me. Now, 9. White persons can take a job with an affirmative action employer without having coworkers or the job suspect that the person got the job because of his or her race. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be brutally honest with you all right now, and I feel extremely uncomfortable doing so, but I think it's poignant. I'm the only black male in my department. At times I wonder to myself, do I have that job because I'm black? Or do they feel I was the most qualified candidate? This is something white persons don't have to go through. And now what this lends to is the last thing that I want to discuss is double consciousness, which is a coined term by W.E.B. Du Bois in 1908. When I've referenced, did this happen because I was black today? That's a double consciousness that I experience. I have to experience my life as an American and then as a black American. And the fact that I have to ask these different questions so often, it alludes to some of the struggles that are prevalent in the black community that their white counterparts don't have to go through nearly as often. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, I'm concluding my presentation, and I just want to leave you with a couple final thoughts. First of all, I actually want to spend a quick moment. I feel like I've been extremely aggressive today, and I've been attacking white persons. And I apologize to you for that because I don't necessarily feel that you deserve to be attacked, just like I didn't feel like black persons deserve to be attacked. I want to speak to the victims suffering from the collateral damage because when this whole racism thing was created, whenever it was created, it was intended to hurt persons, to keep groups down, to oppress. But with that said, there are other victims that were unintended who are hurting. I can only imagine, especially how the white males may feel in this room right now after hearing my presentation. You are a victim as well. There are so many white persons in this room who never feel like they've contributed to racist agenda, purposefully or not purposefully. There are many white persons in this room feel like I try to live my life justly and correctly, and they don't understand why they're being attacked today. I'm sorry that you get enveloped in this concept of racism and that everything gets projected upon white persons and you individually, because it's not all of you individually. And I'm acutely aware of that. And I just want to let you know, I'm aware that you're suffering through this. And I'm sorry that you have to suffer through this. Now, my 3 things that I want to leave you with is, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I went to a couple engagements last summer, and I went to a couple weddings, and I love my friends very, very dearly, and I'm so happy they chose to invite me on their special day. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, at both weddings, I was the darkest person in the room, and that really bothered me. So the reason I'm highlighting that and bringing that up today, I challenge all of you, make new friends. Make friends with persons of color. If you're a person of color, make white friends. And then do me one more favor. After you have an experience with this friend, whether it's a positive or a negative experience, don't let the part represent the whole. Don't let this one individual who you dealt with represent a whole group. Please don't do that. The second thing I want to leave you with is my life motto. My life motto is, money comes and goes, but the way you treat someone lasts forever. Long story short, I don't remember money people spent on me or money I spent on other individuals. I remember how individuals treated me, especially when I wasn't doing as well in life. So do your best to treat others well. And the last thing I want to leave you with, there's many individuals in this room today who want to change the world. I know I want to affect change in this world. With that said, not all of us are going to be able to. The unfortunate reality is most of us are not going to change the world. With that said, almost every single person in here is going to have an opportunity to change somebody's world. When you get that opportunity and you recognize it, I implore you, I beg you, change that person's world for the better. I know when I interact with my students, that's what I try to do. I beg you to do the same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to see me today. we're done. If anyone does have any questions or comments, it's 12:50, and I know many persons have to get back to class. I don't have anywhere to be. I'm going to stay here until I'm the last person who leaves the room. In addition to that, if you're interested in any of the sites that I've referenced, I created a works cited page. Feel free to contact me at jordan.bell@sunyduchess.edu, and I'm more than willing to send you my works cited list, which includes my presentation. What's up?
Proud of you, man.
Thank you, Wesley. I'm happy you came.